Welcome into Sports Burst. Barcelona's most important match of the season is here. Quique Setién's tension-filled dressing room welcomes Diego Simeone's men, who are riding high on 4 straight wins with the La Liga title on the line. We head to Barcelona to get the latest on Bartomeu's reported meeting at Quique Setién's house, discuss who will take the field at the Camp Nou, ask ourselves, is it do or die time for Griezmann this afternoon? And is this Diego Simeone's time to finally end his unbelievable winless streak against Barcelona in the Spanish top flight? So much to get to. Sports Burst starts right now. This is a reminder that our show is interactive. Send us your thoughts on if Quique Setién should be sacked if Barcelona do not get all 3 points at the Camp Nou tonight, and we'll get to those comments shortly. Let's take a look at what's in store on beIN Sports today. Our coverage of Mallorca versus Celta Vigo kicks off at 1 p.m. Eastern Time on beIN Sports in English and beIN in Espanol, followed by Leganés versus Sevilla going on beIN Sports Connect, and of course the marquee match of the restart era, Barcelona taking on Atletico Madrid. Our coverage begins at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Join me, Thomas Rongan, and Hope Solo on for that. And then on the beIN Extra channel, Segunda División action. Our beIN Extra channel is free, no contracts, no strings attached. Check out beinsportsextra.com for more info on that. And straight to Barcelona we go, as our Jamie Easton is standing by inside the Camp Nou. Jamie, a massive day in Barcelona, and there are going to be some fans in the stands, virtually, or seemingly at least, spiritually at least, we'll say. Jamie, give us the latest.
Yeah, spiritually, Gabby. Behind both goals, there are T-shirts that some fans have specially bought for days like today. For example, Paul, a fan from Barcelona, and with these words that we can read at the Camp Nou these days, Aquí juguem tots, which in Catalan means here we all play today. All those T-shirts the fans have had to buy to the club, and every single euro that Barcelona has received, they will give to the situation of the COVID-19. So all these fans will support virtually their club from behind both goals. Sorry for the blaster, because I did a new test of COVID-19. That's why I'm here inside for this great match. And some reports, Gabi, say in Spain that this match could be decisive for Quique Setién. If Barcelona doesn't win today against Atletico Madrid, or they don't win in Villarreal, there could be consequences for the manager. Despite from inside the club, they say that President Bartomeu, the CEO, and some other board members went to Quique Setién's house to tell him that he has the job assured until the end of the season.
But this is not something that's necessarily reassuring, because the same situation or something very similar happened with Ernesto Valverde. Am I correct?
It is correct. I remember perfectly late in January when the club was saying that Ernesto Valverde would end the season, that nothing would happen if Barcelona wouldn't win the Spanish Super Cup, and suddenly they played their best game of the season probably against Atletico Madrid. In the last minutes, catastrophe happened and they lost, and then Ernesto Valverde was sacked, despite in Barcelona everybody inside the club granted Ernesto Valverde would continue. The same could happen today, and there's something curious. Tata Martino, his last game as Barcelona manager was against Atletico Madrid. The last game of Ernesto Valverde was against Atletico Madrid. We'll see what happens today, but for Quique Setién.
Yeah, Atletico Madrid seems to be Barcelona manager's kryptonite, much like Barcelona seems to be Real Madrid manager's kryptonite. But back on Quique Setién, obviously we all saw the video of Messi and Eder Sarabia. Has that relationship been repaired? Was there a meeting between the players and the coaches? I mean, is the dressing room still full of tension? What's the state of the Barcelona dressing room today?
Well, obviously, tension doesn't disappear from 1 minute to the next minute, but it's true that there was a meeting inside the dressing rooms at the Barcelona training facilities before the training session yesterday. There, in that meeting, Quique Setién told the players and obviously the staff that they could not give those images again. Nobody, no Barca fan wants to see those images again, with Messi turning his back in Eder Sarabia, Setién's assistant, Rakitic also turning his back to Eder Sarabia, and some reports say, Gabby, that even some Barcelona players and Barcelona captains asked for forgiveness to Setién and his assistants.
So there is an attempt to at least repair that relationship for now. I do want to keep with Quique Setién and who he is going to start tonight. Is there word that we could see Antoine Griezmann feature against his former club? Obviously, that would be the Gala 11. But because he's been giving the nod to Ansu Fati over Griezmann, what's the status on that?
I think it would be very risky for Quique Setién to just keep Antoine Griezmann on the bench. You have to remember that Antoine Griezmann was on the bench against Sevilla. He was against Celta on the bench too. And to be in the third most important game since La Liga restarted on the bench again, that would be very bad news for the Frenchman. I believe that Quique Setién today will start with Messi, Suarez and Griezmann up front. What I do not know if Riqui Puig could start, because he did quite well in Vigo, or because Sergio Busquets returns today after his sanction that avoided him playing in Vigo. Maybe he just wants Busquets, Rakitic and Arturo Vidal. That would be the Gala starting 11, but a lot of fans in Barcelona still demand Setién to put the youngsters. And looking at what happened in Vigo on the first half especially, but in the entire game, and compared to what happened in this stadium against Atletico Bilbao, I think that Barcelona played much better in Vigo. We'll see what Setién decides.
Right, and that is the question, Ansu Fati or Griezmann up top. I want to talk about the other big news of the day, which was the Arthur Pjanic transfer confirmed. When we spoke to you, the Arthur piece was confirmed. The Pjanic came later on in the day. What are the details of this move, and why have Barcelona chosen to put such a high release clause on Pjanic?
Well, the buyout clauses in Barcelona are very high. Every single buyout clause is high. I think that since Neymar left for 222 million euro to PSG, they just put those buyout clauses really high just in case any other club steals players from them. It's just a strategy. Real Madrid does that also. I've seen buyout clauses from Real Madrid of 400, 500 or 600 million euro. That's something that's happening in the Spanish football. We have to remember that in other leagues there are no buyout clauses. And obviously the exchange between Pjanic and Artur, a lot of people in Barcelona are not happy with that, because they believe and they say, and that is true, that they are changing a 23-year-old player, which is the future, for a 30-year-old player. And the average age of Barcelona, for example, the day they played in Sevilla, the Sánchez-Pizjuán, it was 30 years old. So they need a renovation, and they continue signing old players. So there's something that a lot of people doesn't understand, but the truth is that the only thing they have to understand is that this was made to just a financial reason. Barcelona will have a benefit of 50 million euro with this transfer movement, and Juventus will also have a benefit of 42 million euro. That's the only reason why Barcelona and Juventus exchanged both players. But most of fans believe that Juventus has done better work.
Yeah, a lot of fans and a lot of his teammates did not want to see Arthur go. Thank you, as always, Jamie, for the information. You'll be back on with us in the Express at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And, of course, Barcelona taking on Atletico Madrid live and exclusively right here on beIN Sports. We're going to touch base again with Jamie ahead of Mallorca versus Celta. And then, of course, our preview coverage of this match. The partidazo that could ultimately decide the La Liga title begins at 3:30 p.m. Myself, Thomas Rongen, and Hope Solo will be on that. We'll tell you guys everything you need to know. And speaking of Thomas Rongen, I want to welcome him into the show. He is socially distanced alongside me in studio. Thomas, you just heard what Jamie Easton said. What stood out to you most?
Well, what stands out to me is a fractured locker room. And what stands out to me is that if you look at the history of the game, and in particular the modern game, it's big-time former players that seem to thrive now, be it Zidane, be it today's opponent for Barcelona, Simeone. Because when they walk into that door, there is immediate respect. And also, most of them have played for those clubs and understand the DNA and the locker room hierarchy. And if you look at Quique Setién right now, in its own right, a great coach with smaller teams, his inability to manage the group and allow dictatorship to fester within this team, in particular the attitude of Messi, Suarez versus Griezmann, has not really had a positive effect. And then when results don't go your way, it becomes very tough for any of those coaches to survive. And we've seen that over the years, not just with Ernesto Valverde, but also at Real Madrid, with certain coaches that their tenure didn't last it. So yeah, a guy under pressure, without a doubt. But what an opportunity today to change all of that against an Atleti team that they normally beat, or have beaten 19 times. But the problems continue with the coaching staff, the lack of respect that Messi showed towards the assistant coach, the altercations at some practice sessions that we all know about, and particularly Messi and Griezmann, and the mere fact that all boils down to the fact that majority of the group were surprised by the Griezmann signing. They wanted Neymar, and that's where it all started to go somewhat pear-shaped. You throw some bad results on that, and all of a sudden you have a split within your locker room that's going to be very, very tough to mend for a guy like Setién, because he doesn't have the statue of a Simeone and a Zidane that are big-time former players.
Yeah, you're spot on with that. And I want to stick with Quique Setién and hit a comment here and throw it over to you, Thomas. Mubarak Al-Dasari saying, why would he get sacked? He didn't even get his chance yet. It's not a manager issue, really. It's more the upper management issue, and it's also a player management and a player power issue. If you are Barcelona and you're looking at this Quique Setién situation and they don't get a result here against Atletico Madrid, which puts the La Liga title even more out of reach, do you sack him or do you give him until the end of the season or potentially until the end of next season? What do you do, Thomas?
Well, what do? You need to ride out the season right now. You got only 6 games left regardless of results. But if they don't get a trophy, it will be Valverde and Setién to be blamed. In saying that, our caller made the right point. There's a dictatorship in this team right now that started with pushing Coutinho out, that started right now with Griezmann being the odd man out, so to speak, based on his performances, that directly is correlated with Messi and Suarez not really involving him. A bad transfer policy, that's the board, without a doubt, within the last 3 or 4 years. The amount of money they've spent is just incredible. And the last trade or transfer pretty much sums it up. A young player that I think has a great future gets traded for a player that's 30 plus right now. And that's the last thing this team needs. They've got to fall back on younger players and La Masia players for the future, in my opinion. So absolutely right. Starts at the top, but it also finishes with your captain, Messi, taking more and better responsibility.
Right, and his latest display of completely ignoring Quique Setién's number 2 really doesn't help his image as being perhaps a dictator or a problem in that dressing room and a problem within that club. I want to hit Antoine Griezmann, though. Antoine Griezmann doesn't get the start against Celta. Quique Setién decides to go with Ansu Fati, because in the previous match against Athletic Club, Griezmann did get the start. Ansu Fati came off the bench and completely changed the game. If Antoine Griezmann does not get the starting 11 position here against Atletico Madrid, should he be relooking his future and his current state? Should he perhaps maybe be thinking, all right, I think it's time to go because I'm just not taken seriously here?
He's thinking that already. You know, in the pecking order right now, you can say that he's behind 2 other players, and Dembele is not even fit right now. Fati started in front of it. Braithwaite comes off the bench and starts for Griezmann as well. I think today that Setién is going to go back to a veteran group of players and not include the 2 youngsters, by the way, that have been doing so well for him. Push and Fati, when they came on 2 games ago, made the difference. When they came off in the last game, by the way, the tired old legs of Barcelona crumbled. But in this particular game, I have a feeling that Griezmann will start. And if he does not start, as you said so correctly, Gab, then you know what? Messi's power is incredible. Or Setién has won the battle and says, you know what? I don't care. This is my best 11. And if we win, that's great. If we lose, I'm always under pressure. I think he'll go with the experience, also in midfield with Rakitic, Vidal, and Busquets coming back, which puts the young players on the bench and puts Griezmann, if he doesn't start, under tremendous pressure to start looking elsewhere where he can become just like Neymar when he left, the big-time player, which he is for France and Atletico Madrid in the past.
Right. This is a player, Antoine Griezmann, who was scouted by the likes of Manchester United and PSG, and he decided to go to Barcelona, and he's probably revisiting that thought because of the treatment that he's gotten, not only from the managers, but from his teammates who don't really appear to be welcoming him with open arms. Sticking with Quique Setién, though, you said that he should put his foot down. Do you think that he has the personality to do that?
It doesn't look that way, because if we've looked at this season, in particular when Griezmann came, it seems like there's a certain group of players, and that's not uncommon. Believe me, Zidane knows there's a structure, a hierarchy within the locker room. Simeone knows that. Frank Lampard knows that because they've been there and done that. But the mere fact that they can manage a group like that, and Simeone came out yesterday and said some really great things. He said, hey, I don't want to discuss what happens on Barca, but I'll tell you, my team, we stay together. Nothing goes to the outside. I have a coffee with a player once in a while. It's very direct and honest, and everything stays within the locker room. The inability for Barcelona to keep their dirty laundry in-house causes a lot of problems right now, and Setién probably doesn't have the power to manage that correctly.
Right, and I don't think he has the media management experience to manage it also, because I've said this for a couple of days now. I think he's just too transparent. When he's asked by the media what's going on, he admits too much, he says too much, things are then inferred, and all of these situations escalate. I want to hit the other manager, though, a manager who has a laundry list of experience, one that's worked wonders at Atletico Madrid. But somehow, some way, Diego Simeone has never beaten Barcelona in La Liga Santander. Atleti have not beat Barcelona in 19 straight games. Do stats like these run through a player's and a manager's minds heading into a match like this?
Yes and no. Simeone will not tell them we've lost 19 straight. The changes this year, by the way, in Simeone's team are plentyfold as well. There's a lot of young players. So he can use that to his advantage and say, hey, you know what? 8 of you guys weren't here even the last 2 or 3 years. So you know what? We'll go out and we play the way we always play, which is on the front foot, which is aggressive, which is on the level of, is this acceptable, yes or no? But the interesting part is that Barca is being perceived as having a soft underbelly. But against Atletico, they roll up the sleeves in most games. And I think because they know Atleti's makeup that well, that they're willing to counteract or manage the physicality of the game and say, hey, you know what you can do, we can do even better. They become more industrial, so to speak, tougher and harder mentally and physically, and still within that are able to play their game. So this might be actually a unique opportunity for Barcelona to get 3 points and all of a sudden quiet the locker room. And this is even a better opportunity for Atletico Madrid to look at a wounded animal, and Simeone will use that and go, you know what, they're wounded. Let's go after this older team with all these 30-plussers. João Felix, go run at PK. So both coaches will manage their games accordingly, but somehow Barca shows more power, strength, and aggression against Atleti and still being able to play and getting results. So that's very interesting.
Yeah, and an Atleti side who appear to have hit their form at the perfect time, 4 straight wins. Diego Simeone, a man who we were criticizing, 4, 5, 6 months ago, saying perhaps he had lost his touch with this team, completely back in action, and what he's been able to do with Llorente is sensational. We'll get to that more. I want to hit the comment section here. Jeff Kerr saying, I like Simeone's attitude. Keep the talk about your own team and not others. Spot on. Jonathan Quintanilla saying, will there be another Messi and João Felix face-off? I hope so. I like a little bit of drama. Do you like a little bit of drama, Thomas?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And Bavon Gray with what I want to bring to you, Thomas. Benching Messi would be the only way to show who's the boss. Can't bench Messi.
No, that won't happen. Listen, I've been in locker rooms with teammates like Johan Cruyff, and Johan Cruyff dictates what happens in a much better way than Messi does it. If he's not injured, he'll start regardless who the coach is. So that will not happen, and that would be foolish as well, because it's not just to send a message, it's sending your best player, your savior, which he still is, to the bench. And that will be, regardless of the outcome, the end of Setién without a doubt. So that's not going to happen. Wishful thinking maybe to make a stand, but this is not the game to do it in.
I have a question, and speaking to your experience and the players that you've played with and the players that you've coached, you had someone like Quique Setién. Well, you have someone like Lionel Messi, who we all know has a lot of power at the club, makes a lot of decisions. He's had problems with coaches in the past. We've seen it with the Argentine national team. So you have a player like Messi. Then you have a manager like Quique Setién, who in his first press conference says that the day before he was with cows. 2 press conferences later, he says, what an honor, what a pleasure it's been to coach a Lionel Messi, almost like a fan. Did Quique Setién kind of make his own bed in the way that he presented himself as Barcelona manager to begin with, Thomas?
Yes, he did, without a doubt. On the other hand, again, he can't fall back on illustrious playing career. I mean, the headlines with Zidane, Simeone, Lampard when they were hired were, or Arteta, as of late at Arsenal, former great is coming back. Now you get Setién, a Cruyff disciple, might bring back the great fluent football again of Barcelona, which is not a truism either because Barca is in a downward slide. They need to make a lot of changes, and the great, brilliant football of Barca that we've seen is not coming back, and it's not there yet. And then you, on top of that, you have to come out and pretty much say, you know what, in order for me to be liked in the locker room, and that's always a big problem, that's what I did one time. I was a likable coach, and I got fired eventually. The players have to respect you. And if you come out with a statement, as you said, Gabby, you know, I'm a big fan of Messi. Oh, my God, finally I get to coach the best player in the world. You're showing certain lack of strength in your repertoire that will come back to haunt you, which it has with Setién.
Right, and we've seen it happen because we've discussed this, Thomas, us together. Lionel Messi starting in all 5 matches, playing all 90 minutes at the age that he has. Luis Suarez playing 2 matches back-to-back, 90 minutes since the restart. I mean, these are decisions that you can tell that Quique Setién just doesn't have the power over these players to say, no, I'm going to bench you because you need the rest and you're not the one making the decisions. And it does have a trickle-down effect because now you have a Lionel Messi, Thomas, who is still searching for goal number 700 on a 3-game goal drought. Do you think that that's played a role?
Without a doubt. The great managers again, and I'll say right now, Zidane and Simeone, since the restart, have pushed all the right buttons in rotations. And didn't matter if it was the number 11 guy or the number 1 guy. Everybody set a game. Everybody came on a game. And the pre-Sevilla game, that's where he should have given Messi some rests. And he did not do that, or did not bring him off when they were up sometimes comfortably in certain games, and that's hurting him. Not just Messi, 33 right now, Piqué on the counter right now, looks like he cannot backtrack. Obviously, Busquets didn't play the last game, but you end up with a group late in the game, and that's why you allow Aspas to get back at you at 2-2, because you got a group of older players that their legs just ran out towards the end of the game. That's just normal science, you know, in terms of fitness. And for him not to grasp that, and for him not to earlier do those things, benching him today would be disastrous, but not rotating Messi and Suarez, regardless, in certain games, that is coming back to haunt him right now.
Yeah, most definitely. All right, Thomas, what's your prediction for this one? Barcelona taking on Atleti.
I still think that Barcelona will have a game, actually, that they might explode.
Really?
I've coached a team. I've been on a team as a player that when we were down and out, all of a sudden, Johan Cruyff, out of nowhere, becomes miraculous. And this is a game where Messi will score probably his 700th goal. And it might be not a rout, but it may be a comfortable win for Barca against all odds. That will be very interesting. On the other hand, what a great opportunity for Simeone to finally get rid of that 19-game streak, because on paper, and the way they've played, Atleti looks better right now, but I really feel that the power of Barca, more so mentally, is going to play out because they've been there and done that core group over the last 10 years. Piqué, Busquets, Messi, Suarez, Alba. Can they do it again?
It'll be interesting to see, and you guys can watch it live and exclusively right here on beIN Sports. It's not the only match of the day, though. We have 2 minutes on the clock, so let's go through the other matches of the day. Liga taking on Sevilla. That one kicks off at 3 on beIN Sports Connect. But our day begins, Thomas, with Mallorca versus Celta, a match that would have been a relegation battle, everything on the line a couple weeks ago, but Celta Vigo on a very impressive run of form.
Yeah, Mallorca simply has to win this game. Just like we say, Barca has to simply win this game. Mallorca has to win it for different reasons, obviously. But since the restart, they've played some enterprising football. But finishing has let them down, and they're still leaking too many goals. You know, that's the difference. Although Kubo has looked absolutely brilliant, and they have to rely now on this very young kid to pull them out of misery maybe at 19 years old. But that's Mallorca's only hope.
Yeah, we'll get into this match more in depth on our preview show at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. The other matchup of the day, Leganés versus Sevilla. A Sevilla side that were, you know, pretty much en route for that top 4 finish. Now they're getting a lot of pressure from not only Getafe, but from Villarreal also. What's gone wrong with Sevilla, and Leganés need a win also?
Yeah, I mean, Lopetegui must be really frustrated not being able to turn 1 point, which is a tie, because they've tied quite a few games since the restart, into 3 points. That's a huge difference. And it goes down again to who is that second striker after, as you can see here, Ocampo scoring that penalty. Who will step up to score some other goals for this Sevilla team? If they can find that one, they'll still be comfortable making Europe or the Champions League.
Yeah, the battle for those European places is still very much alive. Join us at 1 p.m. Eastern Time for the preview of Mallorca versus Celta, and then, of course, Barça versus Atleti at 3:30. We'll see you then. Ciao, ciao.